Hey y'all, it's Shelly and I am Scrappy Longstocking. Today I wanted to share with you my setup album for 2025 Week in the Life, and just go through my plan for the week that I've got so far, and then go ahead and finish up this homemade album that I made specifically for this. And I just wanted to go ahead and walk you through real quick and then put this together. So my basic plan is I went ahead and put it together here. So my idea is to tell a story a day. And so that's the lens I'm going to use. And so the reason why is that I'm going to write out for this year is that there's a story in every day. So the community is doing the documenting for Week in the Life. So if you don't know, it's a community project created by Allie Edwards. And generally everybody who does it, for the most part, people do it when she does it. This year, she's doing it on June 2nd. And that happens to be a Monday. So what I do is I scrapbook my project life Sunday to Saturday, and it just follows a standard calendar that way. So what I decided to do was start on the 1st, which I just like the cleanness of that. So the 1st through the 7th. So I'm going to go Sunday to Saturday. And I had already taken some time to create some albums. I saw it on someone do it on the internet, and I decided to give it a try. So I think this is like the 3rd one that I put together. And I started putting them together because there's not a lot of 8x8 albums out there. And I wanted to give it a try. And so I ended up with an 8x8 scrapbook album, and I got the rings off of Amazon. And I did this maybe a year and a half ago, and then I just stopped. But I have all the supplies, and I think I'm going to do this a lot more frequently from now on. And I bought the album art from Allie Edwards. This is just the cover art, and I printed it. My printer, the largest paper, is legal size, which goes up to 14 inches, but this one I just printed on standard 8.5 by 11 US letter paper. And then these pages are from the daily quarterly scrapbook kit. It's from a couple of years ago, and I had decided to use this kit a lot in my Week in the Life album. So the plan is to use double-sided tape. I thought about glue or glue stick, and I specifically decided not to use them. And I think what I'm going to do is just tape it along the edge and then use album corners on these corners, because I might use some of this tape. This is just bookbinding tape along the edge here, or I've bought some corners and I may just go ahead and leave that way. The other option is to pull it forward and then put this over the edge as well. So I will get to that in a minute, but my plan, I went ahead and looked at couple of my old Week in the Life albums and some of the things that I documented during those weeks. And one thing that I do like to do is go to the National Tday website and see what the funny or silly holiday is. Then go ahead and do a story about what's on my phone, my daily routine with work, house, exercise, that sort of thing, my cleaning, what I do every day. Go ahead and do a daily screenshot of the front page, which is the app or they also have a website where you can save the front page of any newspaper, or most newspapers, major newspapers across the country. Just do a story from that day, something that happened. Usually there's at least one story in every day that I have found. And then, or maybe how much money I've spent and budgeting. And then previously I've counted steps, how many steps I've taken in a day, how much water I've drank in a day, how many emails I've sent and received, how many texts I've sent and received, and like my sleep score. And then a lot of times I'll take a weather screenshot. So what I'm thinking of is doing most of these every day. Some of the story kits that I have from my stash that I've got set aside to use are currently happy around here. I've got the digital kit for details. Daily, that's the quarterly scrapbook kit. And then Enjoy, I also have that one. So maybe I'll use all of those, but I think at least for one story a day, I think I'm going to try and use those. But otherwise, otherwise I think I'll just tell one story from each of the kits. The other thing I did was I went out to Pinterest and I looked at travel notebook spreads that I had seen, 2-page spreads, because the basics of a travel notebook is the same size as, approximately the same size as an 8x8 scrapbook page. So I can take the idea from 2 pages and put them on 1 page, and I can recreate the pages without having to use up all my creative juices. So I have a whole list of those, and there's quite a bit. I just went through my Pinterest travel notebook scrapbook pages and went ahead and just wrote down some ideas. Like there's some easy ones like gratitude, create a pocket insert. My birthday is at the end of this month and I'll be 43. And so just doing 43, this is me, on a page just because it's so close to my birthday. Like the ING page, that'll be easy. AM, PM with the morning routines, that sort of thing. So that's the ideas I have for those. My thoughts on that are to download the photos and put them in my Canva board or my Canva project for this kit. And then that way I won't forget them and they'll all be in one place for my ideas, and I can pick and choose which ones. So right in the beginning of my album, I have just some bits and pieces that I've set aside. These are from the daily scrapbook kit, and they're 4x4 cards that I have created for myself using that kit and the colors of the Week in the Life kit. So this is how I created them. Was I created a 4x1 inch rectangle and then put a word. So it was a die cut word in the physical kit, but it's a digital die cut. And so I just plopped it right on there, resized it to fit in the color, and then left white space at the bottom. So I'd end up with a 4x4 square. This was on a sheet of 12x12 paper in the original paper kit, and I cut it down I cropped it down to 4x4 for each one of those squares so that I could cut them out and I would know they were the right size. So there are several of those in there. This vellum card is from the June Stories by the Month kit that just arrived, as is this one and this one. This is from an old Studio Calico kit. This is from an old Stories by the Month kit. I think it was April 23 or 24. I don't remember which these are from. I think this is from one of the kits this year. It just says Life Right Now. And this is from one of the kits from 2023. No, 2024. So I just put them in an 8x8 pocket right here on the inside. So they're just sitting there waiting for me to choose what day to use. Then I went ahead and ordered the page dividers, the physical ones. I decided not to reprint them. I just added them to my box for my Stories by the Month order. And then I cut them down. So I cut a strip off the edge. And then sometimes I cut a strip off of here. Sometimes it was only a strip off the left. Sometimes only off the right. It just depends. But I cut off the pre-cut holes and then re-punched them so that they would match up to the 8x8 page protector. So that's how I got this to fit in the album. Then I just used my standard hole punch. And then each day I know that I want to tell a series of stories. And so these are from the Daily Scrapbook Kit. This is from the Quiet Scrapbook Kit. I'm not sure why that's not in the front. And then I grabbed the little 2-inch by 3-inch pockets from the Fun Storyteller Kit. And I'm thinking to do, so I could do it on top of a photo or to the left. I just haven't fully decided what to do. But I noticed that these little pockets and the colors go really well with this color scheme. So I just pulled them out to use them because I had thought of some ideas and then I discarded all of those ideas. And there's 8 of these little things in the Storyteller Kit, the Fun Storyteller Kit. So I decided to just put them in here, random color. I'm not assigning a day, a color. That's just what I decided to do. So this is from the Quiet Story Kit. These are punched from the Daily Scrapbook Kit. There's a 12 by 12 paper in there that I shrunk down. And so I shrunk them down so that I could print them out at 1.5 inches and then use my 1.5 inch punch. These, I bought the digital stamp that was released with the Week in the Life kit. And then again, I just created a 1-inch box, pulled it out to 4 inches wide, and then used that stamp and then recolored it. And they're the right size for my project and mostly the colors of the kit. These, I think, were from last year's kit, and I just went ahead and added them on a couple of weeks ago. So I ended up with 3 4x4 cards. Well, 4 4x4 cards, I think, for each day. I think there was one day where I messed up, and I did 3 Friday cards instead of 2. So I'm not sure how these pages will come together, but I've got them set up so that I can have them in each day. And I do plan on doing a full page of something followed by whatever on the back. And then I haven't decided if I will cut the scallop out of this page that Deneen made on the Allie Edwards page. But this is fantastic. I printed one out for every day, and they're in here every day. And I know all I have to do is come in at the end of the day and handwrite in each day. And then on the back, I could print out a page of journaling. And a few years ago, I was looking on my Week in the Life blog, and a few years ago, Allie had created her journaling with a circle in the middle, and I could cut this down to 1.5 inches so that it wouldn't take up so much space. But I was thinking a good way to go ahead and get all of my journaling in about what happened during the day would be to go ahead and make at least 1 full page of journaling. And then I could put that in the center. I don't even know. I think this is maybe 2.5 inches. It might be large enough. Yeah, it's larger. It's about 2.25 inches. So I could cut down the edge and then have it in a 2-inch. But I know that I can wrap my text around a shape in the middle of my journaling, and I can just do that. This is, I just fussy cut this out. It's a number from the quarterly scrapbook kit named Daily. So I'm going to just call it the Daily Kit. So, and I just recolored it to match the colors that are in this kit. And then I've got, so that's a 4x4 pocket, and those journaling will fit in there. I could fit 2x2 square or photos on a 4x4 grid in there. I could just do it however I wanted, but I like the idea of having these in here with maybe either just stapled into the pocket, because it'll be June 1st. And so I think that would be cool. I could put the little letter stickers ST. I could staple this onto a piece of vellum in there. I could just staple the pocket itself. I haven't fully decided, but it's in there. Another full page. And then this is a page protector that is one of the 8.5 by 11 baseball card size. And the opening is 2.5 by 3.5. And I just cut off, I think I cut off the bottom row of each one. And then, so that's my basic page setup, is a full page each day, followed by a page of journaling, and this free digital download, followed by a 4x4, and then an 8-inch full page again, and then the smaller six opening grid, so front and back, so there's more photos, and then another 8x8. And then it starts on to the next day. And so for each day, I'll have the screenshots for the weather, the front page, and then I'll be able to handwrite in or type in my stats for the day with the numbers, and then any of the other individual pieces that I was thinking I wanted to add in. I haven't pulled off on one of them I did, but I don't remember which one. I think it's this one because it's much more sticky. So I haven't pulled off the covering yet. So just know that it's there, that covering is on there. But I do like how this just looks with a piece of white paper behind it. And so I did also consider making this my journaling and having the journaling on the back, and then for the whole day, and then just having the white paper back this, because it's a lot more clear, or the colors are a lot more distinct when they're fully on there, or with the white paper backing it. So again, another one of the stories that I want to tell, and these are from last year's, one of the stories by the month kit last year. So it's AM story and PM story. And I wanted to tell the story about my morning routine and my evening routine, because I've done that a few times in the past. And I like to compare. I think it's a good comparison of what life looks like between the years. And so 2 more of those journaling cards, the 4x4 from the 2 4x4s from the kit, the daily kit, and then my paper punch. And I haven't fully decided on everything, but these pieces I know I want to try and use in there. And I know I want to tell the story of a weekday. And this might have been why I had that on the Sundays, because Sundays are much more chill than weekdays are. So again, with the printable, the download, the number 2, and my 4x4 sheet. And then I use washi tape to cover up the whole messes. So I think I'm going to have to grab the washi tape and cover up that first one as well. Okay, friends, I sped this video up to about 4 times fast forward, and I futzed around with the red line tape for a while, so I had to cut out a bunch of those 30, 40-second at 4 time fast forward pieces. And so it does make the video a little more choppy than usual, but I just thought it was boring to watch me pick at the red line tape for a while. And I did have a lot of trouble putting this together, way more trouble than I thought I was going to have. And I guess the basic problem that I was having was paying attention to all of the little pieces. But I learned the lesson, and the next time I do one of these, I'm going to wait until I have the project that I'm going to use the album for. I'm going to wait until I'm ready to start setting up the project, and then I'm going to add creating the album to my scrapping time so that I'm not having to futz around with all of the pieces like I am here, because it would have been easier for me to put the cover pages on before I taped the spine together. It would have been a more complete and more, I don't even know what the word might be. It would just be a prettier result. And I think also the next time it would be better to glue the album covers on rather than use the red line tape, because the tape was coming away from the chipboard and it was just so weird that it was doing that. So I think the glue would have been better. Also, by the time I get to the inside of the album, on this back piece on the inside cover, I realized that it would have been better if I had been able to place the inside paper underneath the actual hinges that hold it together, the grommet pieces. So it would also have been better if I had chosen maybe some white contact paper or vinyl of some sort, or black, I guess, any color, than using printer paper this size. Or if I had tried to print it out, like send it out to be printed, then it would have wrapped around the edges and I wouldn't have had to mess around with the tape at the end or at the edges of the album, because when I was looking, you can't see it on the video, but while I was looking at the edge of it, you could see all the different layers. And I just wanted to cover it up, and I knew I had this fat black masking tape. And so I just decided to go ahead and cover that edge, and you can see where it's like came away right there where I'm cutting. It's just pulled away while I was trying to pull the red line off. So it was a hot mess trying to get these two covers on, but eventually I do get them on, and it turns out fine in the end. But I've learned a lot of lessons, and if you all ever try to make your own album, it is worth it, because I do like how the end result looked, and it's the exact type of album that I wanted for myself, and it's not available for purchase from a professional album company. Like Ali Edwards isn't making an 8x8 album. And she didn't even, I don't think she even made a 8x10 album. So I couldn't have the album size that I wanted with the cover that I wanted. So I decided to make my own, which means that it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to take a little more time to put together. But I did enjoy I want to say the engineering pieces, figuring it out and putting it together, and it doesn't look too terribly bad at the end. So right here, you can see me, it's on super fast forward, but what I decided to try to do was butt that piece of paper up against the edge. And so I wanted the part that comes up against the outer edge to meet all the way as close to the edge as possible. So that meant I had to try and get the red line tape as close to that edge as possible, so that it would not get caught, when opening and closing it, because I anticipate over the next couple of months I'm going to have to open and close it a lot. And I did go ahead and order some metal corner protectors so that hopefully they fit over the edge of all of these various layers. And that should help a little bit, keeping it protected a little bit more. But again, if I had been able to fold it over the edge, then this I would have about 1/4 of an inch on the inside of the paper. Instead of butting it up against the edge. So, once you do things the first time, because this is the first time I've made my album like this. I had made a couple of these different size albums, and this was the third one that I made. I think I said that in the intro to this video. So the chipboard piece was the third time I made the album itself, but this was the first time I covered one of these albums. So I learned a lot in the making of this, and so it really would be better if I had attached the papers that I was going to use, made them larger, and then done the whole album, put the whole album together all at once. So there we go, friends. And here in the end of the video, I'm going to go ahead and slow the video down so that you can see the final project as I walk it through for you.